All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something pretty wild. It's a document that tries to connect quantum physics, world peace, and even clean energy. And here's the kicker. The author claims it all started with a single poem written by a teenager. Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so this is the actual title of the research we're looking at. And wow, that is a mouthful, right? It's basically saying that a poem from 1989 is the foundation for all this other stuff, like a mysterious equation, a model for world peace, sustainable energy, and this word you might not know, cymatics.
So right away, you gotta ask, what's the connection here? I mean, how on earth do you link cymatics, which is the study of making sound visible, with a hypothetical new force in physics and world peace? They seem like they're from totally different worlds.
And the answer, at least according to the author, is actually really simple. It's a poem. Just a poem written back in 1989 by a high school student. This one piece of writing is what he calls the seed for this whole forest of incredibly complex ideas. It's a pretty big claim. Okay, so if we want to understand that forest of ideas, we have to go all the way back to the seed. Let's dig into the story of how this poem came to be. So picture this. It's 1999. Harminder Singh, a student in Australia, writes his very first poem in English. His teacher, Mrs. Lloyd, doesn't just grade it. She's so moved that she photocopies it and passes it around the entire college. And it gets even better. His chemistry teacher, of all people, was so touched by it that he apparently just sang it out loud in the middle of class. And the author actually remembers this so clearly. He talks about his chemistry teacher, a Mr. Kirkhoven, and how he didn't just read it, he felt the rhythm in it. He apparently thought it should be sung, like by a whole chorus of students. So right from the get-go, this poem wasn't just words on a page. It had this real, emotional punch. So you have to wonder, what was in this poem that got that kind of reaction? Let's actually look at the words now, at the message behind it. The poem starts out with this real sense of wonder. It speaks to the earth directly, almost like a person. Your shelter, your food, your mother. It's setting up the planet not as just some rock we live on, but as this loving, maternal force. But then the tone just completely shifts. It gets really direct about what we do to the planet. We dig you and wound you, we bomb you and plunder you, and it puts all that destruction right up against this idea of the Earth's unconditional love, that no matter what we do, it still loves us. And this is where it gets really deep. It talks about hearing the Earth crying, weeping, and that line, your silent voice is more than a painful storm? Wow, that's a heavy idea, right? That there's this profound suffering happening that we can't literally hear, but it's more powerful than any physical storm. Okay, so this is where things take a pretty massive leap. We've got this emotional, heartfelt poem. How in the world does that become the basis for a whole scientific and philosophical system? Let's look at how the author says he built that bridge. So the author lays it all out like a plant growing. He says the poem is the seed. From that seed sprouts something he calls the Happy Earth Day model. Then come the branches, this big hypothesis he calls Philselfology, and a plan for world peace. And the final ecosystem, a proposed global university to research it all. So for him, this isn't just a metaphor. He's saying the poem is literally step one. So that brings up the big question. What is Philselfology? Well, it's a word the author made up for his grand theory. He uses it to connect the poem's themes, the Earth's vibrations and voice, to actual physics concepts, like a new fifth force and something he calls 4D energy. He's basically making the case that the poem's emotional gut punch is actually pointing to a hidden physical reality. But let's bring it back to the poem one last time to wrap this up. Because it doesn't just end with sadness about the planet's pain. It ends on a completely different note. It ends with a promise. This is how the poem ends. It becomes a vow. It's a promise to save the Earth, even if it costs everything. It says, our souls will not leave you until you are saved and restored. That's a huge shift, right? It goes from just describing the problem to declaring a lifelong, even an afterlife, mission. So when you look at the whole thing, you see this direct line being drawn from one poem written as a kid to an entire life's work of really complex theories. And it kind of makes you think, right? Whether you buy into the specific theories or not, it's an incredible look at how one single powerful idea from our youth can literally shape everything that comes after. It leaves you with a question for yourself, really. What ideas were planted in your mind when you were young? And what kind of forest have they grown into?